Good evening to everybody. And I must say that as I stand here, although that right now we have a few hundred people in the hall, I must say that I recognize the fact that in this hall right now, there are thousands of Talmidis and Talmidim in this hall right now. I recognize the tremendous impact that all of you are having in the future of Klal Yisrael. And it's a tremendous responsibility and a shlichus to be able to be here tonight, to be able to speak to you all. I also want to commend all those that are involved in making it happen, especially Rabbi Zalman Schneer. I must say that when he called me up, I didn't find it so easy to agree. I had a family simcha, and I was just here 2 weeks ago. And I said to him, flying in and out. But, my parents, all through their lives, Aleichem Hashalom, they were Anshe Chinuch. For my father, for 46 years, my mother for 60 years. I just couldn't refuse when it comes to Chinuch. And I have another hat that people don't know in Eretz Yisrael. I'm also entering my 30th year of being a senior board member of all the Chabad day schools of Eretz Yisrael. So it was impossible for me to say no. And I'm happy that I didn't say no. I'm happy that I'm here to be able to see it, because it inspires me to be able to stand in front of such a crowd. So many people that are dedicated and devoted and committed to such a tremendous shlichus, the shlichus of chinuch in our day and age. As I mentioned, I'm on the Reshet Chabad Day School board. And I want to share with you a story. We used to travel and visit the different schools. I was traveling with Rabbi Chanzen, Olav Shalom. He was our Chabad rabbi, senior rabbi in the Bezdin. He also was on the board of the Reshet of the day schools. And we were traveling together with Rabbi Freiman, Aleichem Hashalom, who was the executive director of the Chabad day schools of Eretz Yisrael. And as we were traveling, we were farbringing in the car. I would always use it out to farbring. Bechlal, I must tell you that I look at life as one big farbringing. I'm constantly learning. And so Rabbi Chanzen tells us a story. He says the first time I was by the Rebbe, I think it was in Tavshin Chav Gimel or Chav Daled. He says I was invited up to the Frierdiker Rebbe's apartment for the sukkah meal, the first day of Sukkot. And I was sitting in the sukkah, and there was another Eretz Yisrael Yid that was sitting at the meal, and he turned to the Rebbe, this Israeli Jew that was sitting at the sukkah, and he asked the Rebbe, what about the second day of Yontif? Should I be keeping the second day or just one day, because I'm an Israeli and I'm going back after Yontif? So the Rebbe turned to Rabbi Chanzen and he said, there's a rabbi here at the table. What does he have to say? Let's hear the psak. So Rabbi Chanzen tells us, he says, I was going to give a psak in front of the Rebbe. I just kept quiet. And again, the Rebbe says to me, there's a rabbi here at the table from Eretz Yisrael, like to hear the psak. And again, he says he kept quiet. The third time that the Rebbe said it, he realized that he can't get away with this. He's going to give an answer. So he looked at the Rebbe and he told the Rebbe, it's where your mokim kavu is, where your permanent place is. We're chassidim. Our mokim kavu as chassidim is our Rebbe. That's our permanent place. Those that know that Rabbi Reichik, Olav Shalom, in Los Angeles, he used to say Tfilas Haderech all the years when he lived in Los Angeles. Only when he came back to 770, he wouldn't say Tfilas Haderech every day, because he came back home. So Rabbi Chanzen says, our permanent house is with the Rebbe. So he was alluding to, so it's a 2-dayer. The Rebbe looked at Rabbi Chanzen and he said, but I gave you all the day schools of Chabad and Eretz Yisrael to be in charge of them. That's what the Rebbe answered. So, and Rabbi Chanzen tells the story. So I tell Rabbi Chanzen, I wanted to make sure that I understand what he's telling us. So I say to Rabbi Chanzen, so what did you understand? So he tells me, I understood that the Rebbe was telling me, you're saying to me that your permanence is Rebbe? You're right. But you know where your permanence is as me being your Rebbe? Is the Shlichus that I gave you. That, the day schools in Eretz Yisrael, that you have that achrayus, b'mokim sheretzoyne shel odom shomu nimtze. Where my will for you to be is, that's where I am for you. Your permanence is in the Shlichus that I gave you. That's where I am for you. That's your tziner. That's your vessel for everything in your life. That's what he told him. I had a similar type of a story. I was once traveling to the Rebbe for Shavuos, and as I was on the plane, I started to write a report about the different things that are going on in Eretz Yisrael. I became very close to famous chassid Reb Zusha Partizan, and I used to take him by car to different places in Eretz Yisrael, and I began to see what's going on in all these places. So I was sitting and writing a report to the Rebbe about the different things that I saw. And a lot of the report was a lot of different things that need to be rectified, that need to be changed. And I wrote this, I would say something about 6 to 7 pages. And I even highlighted, headlined, numbered, to make it easier for the Rebbe to be able to read it. And as I came to New York, I put it into the maskiris, I put it into the Rebbe's secretaries. And I must say that I was feeling pretty accomplished. It was a real solid report with a lot of details. And every day I would come to the Rebbe's office and I would ask if there's an answer from the Rebbe. No answer. The last day of my trip, I was standing outside after the Rebbe finished davening Menucha, and the Rebbe came out, and Rabbi Groner told the Rebbe that I'm going back to Eretz Yisrael. The Rebbe wished me a safe trip. And as the Rebbe went into his room, I told Rabbi Groner, if there'll be an answer, you'll give me a call. And I ran to my brother's house and finished my final packing, ordered a taxi. Taxi came. I got into the taxi, and my brother calls me out from the window. And he says to me, Rabbi Groner just called. There's an answer from the Rebbe. Come by 7:70. I'm very curious. It's a long report. I wonder what the Rebbe answered. I come to the Rebbe's office, to the secretaries. I walk in, and Rabbi Groner shows me an answer. It's like a 2-liner. So I say to him, this is it? He says to me, yeah, I'll help you decipher. Because the Rebbe, joined the letters together. So I write it down. First, there was some money for Shliach Mitzvah to Eretz Yisrael, Israeli money. And then I look at the answer, and the answer was, the actual nusach, but the gist of it was that most of the things he wrote to me are major issues that need to be changed and to be rectified in Eretz Yisrael. So what are you doing about it? Question mark, exclamation mark. And I didn't have time to discuss the answer with Rabbi Groner. I had a plane to catch. I was on TW8, Oliver Sholem. So I ran to the airport, checked in, got on the plane, and then I take out the answer and I started to read the answer. And I realized what the answer means. I said to myself, you felt accomplished. You're writing in a nice report with all the details. The Rebbe is letting you know, I didn't send you to Eretz Yisrael to be a spectator or to be a news reporter. I sent you to Eretz Yisrael to be a player that makes a difference. And as I was looking at the answer, I said to myself, me? This American guy? Young? In the land of sharks? It's not easy in Eretz Yisrael. It's very politicized. I can make a difference? Yeah. There's an exclamation mark. There's a question mark. There's clarity. There's guidance. There's direction. There's empowerment in the answer. Yes, I'm giving you the koiches. Yes, we have a Shlichus. And it's clear. And when we have that clarity, when we recognize that, what our Shlichus is, just like when Hashem gave the Torah, we're going to be reading Matan Torah this week. It was clear what He wants from us. It gives us a peace of mind. We have a certain Menucha Sanefesh in the world of confusion, what we have to do. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges. But we know what our Shlichus is. We know what we have to do. And not only we know what we have to do, we've been given koiches to be able to do it. We've been empowered to be able to do it. That alone gives us the Menucha Sanefesh. No one promised us roses. No one said it's going to be easy. There's going to be exertion. Yagaitu Matzosa. But that's part of the challenges, but it's also part of the Shlichus. And even though that we have our difficult moments, and there are times we want to throw in the towel, nevertheless, we think again. We have a Shlichus. We were given koiches. And everything about the Rebbe is connected with the Geulah which we're talking about right now. I remember Reb Zusha Partizan used to bring the matzahs that the Rebbe would send to Eretz Yisrael. It was divided among all the Chabad communities in Eretz Yisrael. And he would take a taxi and go around the whole Eretz Yisrael for 2-3 days, giving out matzahs from the Rebbe to each community. When he came to give me the matzahs for Rehovot, I said to him, Reb Zusha, you know, there's a machloikis when you eat the matzah from the Rebbe. Some put the first piece of matzah in their mouth is the Rebbe's matzah. Others, the last piece of matzah, that the taste should stay with them at the end of the Seder. Tell me, I said to him, when do you eat the matzah? First or last? He says to me, I don't eat it not first and not last. So I said, so when do you eat it? He says, I eat it by the Sudas Mashiach. I said to him, Sudas Mashiach? He says to me, yeah. He says, because matzah is michla de memnusa. It's food for faith. He says, Amunah. The Rebbe is completely about Amunah Mashiach. So that's the best time to eat the matzah. To be mechazek our Amunah Mashiach. Gave me an answer out of left field, as we would say. He says to me, since the Rebbe started his Nesius, he spoke about the Dor Shvi, 7th generation. And he said, our tafkid is to bring the Shekhinah down to earth, to make it happen, to make the Geulah. And he didn't say it's his tafkid. He said it the 7th generation, and he said we're all in the 7th generation. He made us all part of that tafkid. And everything about the Rebbe from day one is Mashiach and Geulah. That's what he wants from us. He wants us to do the job. There was a letter that the Rebbe writes to the Chabad of Toronto. They had organized a function to to help poor families. And the Rebbe says, was very happy to hear about the function that you made, tremendous mitzvah of Avos Yisrael, of helping poor families. He says, and especially in our generation, that it's being organized by women, Noshim Tzidkoniyasin, because in our generation, they're the ones that are going to be the ones that bring the Geulah. So it's not just Avos Yisrael of helping families. It's by the Noshim Tzidkoniyasin, which are the ones that are going to bring the Geulah. So the Rebbe saw in that, the Geulah, that it's the Noshim Tzidkoniyasin that are doing it. The Rebbe once spoke a sikha and he said that we have Purim next to Pesach always. Even when we have a leap year, this coming year coming up is a leap year. And the Gemara asks, when do you make Purim? First order, second. First order, maybe to make it because when you have a mitzvah, you do it right away. The reason for the second order is to put the Geulah of Purim next to the Geulah of Pesach. And the Gemara says you put the Geulah of Purim next to the Geulah of Pesach. So you do it in the second order. The Rebbe says the connection between Purim and Pesach is that both of the Geulas of Purim and Pesach came about through the Noshim Tzidkoniyasin. But the difference is the Mesiras Nefesh in Pesach was towards the home, having children, raising them under such circumstances, going against the Gzeir of Pari, strengthening their husbands. That's the Klapi Panim, the Mesiras Nefesh, inward Mesiras Nefesh. Purim was the outward Mesiras Nefesh. Esther was a queen of the world. She was in the palace of the king. And the Rebbe says in our day and age, there has to be Mesiras Nefesh for Neshei Yisrael, Klapi Pnim and Klapi Chutz, inward and outward. It's not enough just the homes. And it's not enough outside. It's got to be both together. When we're oisik in Chinuch, the Rebbe says Chinuch Altaras HaKodesh is one of the greatest ways how we're going to make Mashiach come. Because it says, Mipnei Chatoenu Galinu Ma'artzenu. We were exiled because of Chatoim. And the way to stop that is the preventive medicine of Chinuch Altaras HaKodesh. To be mechanech the generation to Yir Shamayim, to Chassidishkeit. And that's how we're mevatel the siba, the reason behind the Golas. So he saw what the Noshim Tzidkoniyasin were doing as a part of the Geulah. He saw the Chinuch as part of the Geulah. You know, I remember that when the Rebbe started talking about getting ready for Mashiach, and we have to learn about Yonah Mashiach and Geulah, Chanukah time, I called up Mrs. Greisman, Alei Shalom, in Yerushalayim. And I said to her, maybe we should arrange for the English speakers in Yerushalayim an evening for Mashiach and Geulah. And she said to me, it's a great idea, but I'm involved in another mitzvah of Mashiach and Geulah right now. I'll be giving birth within a month. She says, let me finish first that mitzvah. And after I recover, then we'll get together and we'll make an evening for Mashiach and Geulah. Nebuch, what should I say afterwards? She gave birth, but then she passed away. But she looked at having the baby as part of Mashiach and Geulah. She saw exactly what the Rebbe imbued in us. That everything we should be connecting to Mashiach and Geulah. All what we're doing in our generation. It's the seventh generation. And he gave it over to us. He told us, Tut al tzekent. Do whatever you can. Make it happen. Of course, oiris de toyu bekelim de tikkun. But he gave it over to us, and many times I thought about it. If there was anyone that knew who we were, it's the Rebbe. With all of our frailties and who we are, and nevertheless, he put the job into our hands. Again, a vote of confidence. Again, empowerment, koiches. But he was talking to us, regular people, the regular chassidim. Do we all know where we grew up and who we are and what we are? And nevertheless, he saw that what we can do. And that's something that we always have to remember. We're not living in easy times. We're seeing all the ploys, all the wonders that are happening, things that we can't understand. We're asking for ploy sareno, that we should be able to see the wonders in a revealed way. We're dealing with issues in chinuch that aren't easy in. The Zooming and all the difficulties that have come with the world of technology. The hesach hadas, the total hesach hadas. No one ever thought that we would see such a Mashiach bo with such a hesach hadas that we're seeing today. Who would believe such a thing? We're not writing the screenplay. No one asked us. And many times we ask ourselves the question, can we really do it? You know, we're coming up in Eretz Yisrael to the year of Shemitah. In Eretz Yisrael, the year of Shemitah, I mean, you got to understand, the year of Shemitah changes everything. Fruits and vegetables. Even watering your flower pots in your house becomes an issue. Mowing the lawn, cutting hedges. Everything's an issue. It's unbelievable. It's our schus that we're able to do the mitzvahs at Tluyas Boretz. But Shemitah has another thing also. It's a sabbatical, no working in the field. And the Rebbe says, in one of the sichos, it says in the Parsha, when it talks about Shemitah, it says, V'chisoymer ma'anoichel. If you're going to ask the question, what are we going to eat? We're not planting, we're not sowing. So what are we going to eat? And the Chumash says, V'tzivi says berchosi, I'll bless the 6th year that you should be able to have enough produce to weigh over till the 8th year. So the Rebbe asks a shayla in one of his sichos, why does the Torah have to ask the question? Why does it have to say, what are we going to eat? Why ask questions? Why make any sfekis, doubts? Why can't you just say there's a mitzvah of Shemitah, sabbatical, and I'm going to bless the 6th year, there'll be enough fruit and produce till the 8th year. Why? And if you're going to ask, what are you going to eat? I'm going to give a blessing. And the Rebbe says, you know why? One of the reasons, he says, is letting us know. There are times where we ask questions. What's going to be? But nevertheless, even though we ask questions, we do the mitzvah in its totality. We do everything we're supposed to do, even though we're asking the question. And when Hashem sees that although we have the question, nevertheless, it doesn't waver a minute our emunah and our bitochen, and we'll carry out the mitzvah to its entirety. That's what makes the vitzivi says berchosi. That's what makes it happen. The blessing comes seeing how difficult we have, the challenges, and that we ask the question. We're human. But nevertheless, we don't falter and we go further with our emunah bitochen. That's what makes the bracha. That's what gives the vessel to the bracha. So even though that we have our difficult moments and we ask what's going to be, but we also know what our shlichus is. It's our shlichus, Baruch Hashem, to be oisik in chinuch. And it's our shlichus to get the world ready. And it's our shlichus to imbue in our talmidim and talmidis the emunah and the bitochen, and to get ready for the coming of Mashiach with that yearning. And we know, Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu mevakesh ela lefi koichei shel adam. He doesn't give us more than we can handle. He gives us the koiches, and tzaddikim doimim leboirim. A tzaddik is compared to the Creator. And just like the Rabbi Shalom, the Eibishter, doesn't ask us more than we can handle, the Rebbe doesn't ask us more than we can handle. And we have to tell ourselves all that time. Because we have that little voice in our minds that say, I can't. I don't have the koiches anymore. It's just too hard. And we have to snap back and say, I do have the koiches. I will persevere. I'll make it happen. Because I was given the koiches. And he recognizes that we're asking the question. And because of that, and because we carry on further, that's what's going to make it happen. And he told us, the Rebbe told us, we got to prepare ourselves, and we got to prepare the world. And he told us by learning about Mashiach and Geulah. So of course, when we're talking to our Talmidim, we got to be the source of it. We got to tell them, the Rebbe said, Higi Zman Gulaschem, the time has come. The Rebbe told us, look at the world, open up your eyes, look what's happening. Look at the turmoil. Look what's going around Eretz Yisrael. Look at the 3 countries that we're supposed to be getting when Mashiach comes. Keni, Kinizi, Kadmoini. Look what's going on. Syria, Iraq. Look what's happening to all these countries. There's no stability. We're getting closer and closer. Look what's happening. Umas Mizgara Zubezu. Nations are battling with each other. It's all part of Yemoisa Mashiach, what's happening. And the Rebbe told us we have the ability to tip the scale. One deed, one action, the Rambam in Hilchis Tshuva. And we should recognize that. And this is part of what we tell our Talmidim al Talmidis also. The Rebbe once said that the Rambam, when he says that one good deed or action or speech or thought can tip the scale, says the Rambam doesn't say it has to be from an adult. It could be from a little child saying Moidani. It could be from a Nagelwasser in the morning. It could be from a small coin in a pushka from a little child, from a Talmidah. The Rebbe even went further in a sikh and he said it could even be from goodness and kindness that a goy will do, lahavdil. As he said on the CNN. I remember I was once flying from Toronto to Las Vegas for a Chanukah Sabayis of a Chabad house. And I was waiting in line, 5 o'clock in the morning, and the line was so long, it was like a snake line. And I was afraid I was going to not catch the flight, and I saw this elderly couple about 3 levels ahead of me. They had these old suitcases without any wheels on them, and the husband kept on looking away to get out of line to be served earlier. And he was leaving his wife, and she was left these heavy suitcases. And I had this trolley, the wagon. I took my suitcase off the trolley, and I walked over to the lady, and I wanted to put the suitcases on the wagon. And this old man sees me from afar, and he comes running over. He says, "What are you doing?" I said to him, "I want to give you a wagon, trolley, to be able to put your suitcases on." He says to me, "It's yours, it's not ours." So I said, "I have a suitcase with wheels. You don't have wheels? Here, take. It's okay." No. He refused. What can I do? So I took the wagon back. In front of me, there was this young Texan, with the whole lavush, the cowboy hat, the leather jacket, the boots, everything. Blonde hair, blue eyes. And this man gets lost again, and he leaves his wife, and the line moves. So this Texan picks up the 2 suitcases and starts schlepping them. So I tell him, "You got the good deed for the day." He looks back at me and he says to me, "Rabbi," with his southern accent, "Rabbi," he says, "we got the good deed for the day." So I said to him, "I tried, didn't help. You got it." He says to me, "Rabbi, you don't understand. What you did was contagious." So he tells me. And when he said that to me, I said back to him, "You know what?" I said, "You made my day." Then I realized, the Rebbe said goodness and kindness. Wherever we go, how we act, what we do, the examples we show, the role models that we are. We generate that. We're trying to tip the scale. it keeps on growing, accumulating. It could be tonight, right now, because of the shlichus of this banquet. Boom. We're all in Anani HaKovid. We're all on the way to Eretz Yisrael. It can happen any second. That's how it's going to be. People say, what's going to happen? I used to tell my kids when they were young, I used to say to them, listen, if I'm not home when it happens, we'll meet by the tree next to the koisel. And they would tell me, Dad, Tati, it's going to be a balagan. You sure we're going to be able to see each other? Don't worry. If he comes, we'll be able to see each other also. So we have to be those people that are taking the confidence, the peace of mind, the security, the emunah and bitachon to give it over to al-talmidim al-talmidis. They're looking towards us. We're the ones that have to be the source and the strength for them to be able to get it. I remember the Gulf War, the first Gulf War. I was sitting in the room with the plastic on the window. Plastic on the window is going to save us from missiles. And my oldest daughter, she turns to me, she says to me, why is he doing to us? We didn't do anything wrong to the guy. Why is he throwing at us missiles? You're asking a question that the Jewish people asked thousands of years already. But then I realized how I am going to react to what's going on is what's going to affect my family and my community. If I will be a source of emunah, of bitachon, of calmness, peace of mind, Menucha sanefesh, because the Rebbe said we're in the safest place in the world, then they will understand that. But if I'm going to be panicky, worried, with a sour face and scared, then what do I expect from my children? What do I expect from my community? What do I expect from everyone else? So I said, oh boy, I have a big tafkid. I have to dig in, strengthen my emunah bitachon, to be able to give it over to all those that I have hashpah over them. And I want to tell you all, Baruch Hashem, we're zoichet to have the Rebbe. There was a television program, a talk show in Eretz Yisrael. There was two rabbis, a Chabad shliach, Rabbi Moti Gala and another rabbi on the show. And the interviewer says to him, oh, what's this talk about Mashiach coming, getting prepared? So the other rabbi says, Rabbi Gal, Olav Shalom, the shliach, says, a melech, there'll be a king, he's going to take us out of the Golas. And the other rabbi says, I find it very hard to believe that one individual is going to come and he's going to make order in this world of confusion. A rabbi, he says every day, Ani ma'imim b'emunah shleimah. He finds it hard to believe, he says. And I saw the video of this show, and I said, he's asking a good question. How's one individual going to make order in this world of confusion? But you know the answer? Because the world, the way we know it right now, is a world of confusion. But when you open up the curtains, and you're going to see Gettlichkeit, you see godliness, it's not a world of confusion anymore. We were living the whole time. We have a Rebbe that keeps on opening the curtains for us. That we should see the Gettlichkeit, the godliness and everything. That we should see the purpose in our lives. That we should have that guidance, that clarity. We've got it. That's why we can be all over the world and stand up against all odds. That's why people ask, where are you getting your strength from? Because we're living in a world that's not as confused like the rest of the people. Because we're tapped into our Rebbe. His sichos, his maimorim, his letters. And the Rebbe gives us koiches. And I want to tell, just to finish off, I was introduced by a South African. So I'll tell a story from South Africa. I went to South Africa the first time, to Johannesburg, in Tov Nun Ches, the 300th birthday of the Baal Shem Tov. I was there for Shabbos, Fabrengt. Your father was there. We had a good time together. And then I come to the Kinus of Shluchim, and Rabbi Mesinter comes over to me. He says to me, we want you to come back for Gimel Tammuz. So I tell him, you're speaking to me now in Kislev for Gimel Tammuz? I'm not such a yeke that I could be so mesuder to tell you right now what's going to be Gimel Tammuz. And we hope the Mashiach will be here. No, he says to me, come on, we got to make plans. He says, call me back in a month. Because I won't have what to say. People will remember all what I said the last time. At least a couple of years, people will forget. So come about a month. He says to me, okay, I'm calling you back. A month goes by and he calls me. Tell me, give me another month. And this time I thought, he's going to leave me alone. But he called me back. It was Tu B'Shvat, Leil Tu B'Shvat. He says to me, I got to print the schedule till the end of the year. And I got to know if you're coming. And we got to make up dates. Give me one more night to sleep on it. Tomorrow, call me and I'll give you an answer. That night, I have a custom that I read 5 letters of the Rebbe every day. And I was reading my 5 letters. And one of the letters was a letter to an author in Eretz Yisrael, famous author, Simcha Raz. He wrote the book Tzaddik in Our Times about Rabbi Aryeh Levine. And the Rebbe says in the letter, I received your letter, B'smichas to Tu B'Shvat. And I'm reading it on Tu B'Shvat. And he says, and I'll have you in mind together with your whole family by the Tzion. And then he has a PS. What does it say in the PS? Although you didn't ask me, and mizokt as a eitze shlok me sich nicht an. You don't give an eitze advice if you're not asked. But because it's important, I feel that I want to tell you. That they're asking you to come once again to South Africa, you should definitely make the trip. I looked at the letter. I couldn't believe it. I said, I need a night to sleep on it. And that's in the letter. And I want to tell you something. There's no such letter like that except for that one. Asking you to come once again to South Africa, you should make the trip. I flipped. But I realized that we have a Rebbe that is giving us koiches all the time. And he's helping us that we should have some type of Menucha and nefesh. Some clarity that we should get our Shlichus done. So let's all, everyone together, b'schus harabim. Let's take the koiches together. It's a joint effort. We are the winning team. And we have the greatest coach. So let's take his coaching. Let's take his Torah. Let's be hooked up all the time. And let us get the job done. And we should be zoiche that it should be teikef umiyad mamish.